Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Patson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And today we are previewing our round 16 clash, Richmond v Carlton at the MCG, Sunday, 30th of June. And as I just said, at the Mullen Cricket Ground, 3:20 at the MCG. I think I just said that 3 times, Dave Boy, to make it clear to the audience that we are playing at the MCG. But Dave Boy, first things first, how are you, mate? And how are you feeling? Your initial thoughts to start off with for this game against the Tigers?
No, I'm feeling good. Obviously, it's a different feeling heading into a Richmond clash with a lot of confidence, I guess. I feel like there's a lot of question marks always heading into Richmond clashes, especially with round one. You just don't know how you're going to fare against them. And I feel like those games, both teams always are up to it, especially the last couple of years. I know this year everyone goes, oh, we need to win one more. But they were up to it that night. I felt like they were up to the challenge and trying to get an early scalp in the season. But no, I'm feeling good, mate, and confident for this weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, the last one that we played against the Tigers, Tom Lynch was featured in the side, but obviously, if people have been looking at the AFL news, it's actually not really been showcased a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't known yet to the audience, but Tom Lynch is unavailable to play this week. I don't know what his injury is, but do you know what his injury is?
I think it's Hammy again.
Hammy again. Oh,
Two
yeah,
weeks.
that's right. It was his
Yeah.
other hammy. Yes, that's right. Because I've got a good mate of mine who actually tunes into the episodes. Nick, who is an absolute diehard Tigers man, and because I had a hit of tennis with him on Monday night, and he made sure to let me know that Tom Lynch wasn't playing that week. And yeah, he actually let me know that it was the other hamstring, which is just like what is going on with Richmond's injury list to start off with, but also Tom Lynch with his injury history the past few years. It's unbelievable. But definitely, let's now swing straight into our own injury list. And there's a big player there. Before I throw to you, that obviously will be making his return this week, hopefully, if all goes well and if he passes the fitness test, which I think he definitely should, which is obviously Adam Chera. Jack Martin is back into full training, so he is all sweet to play, but he just won't be featured for I would assume, the next few weeks, just because he needs to get a few weeks under his belt in full training, which I actually like because you need to get him right for finals. So I actually don't mind that, the way that they're going about it, the club. And also Matt Cottrell is 1 to 2 weeks away as well. So they're three pretty crucial inclusions. Dave Boyd, what are your thoughts on those names?
Yeah, it's considering the way we're playing to have this personnel out of you include JSOS and Doc.
Yeah.
That's 5 players that easily come in. Well, do they easily come in? I don't know, but it's a great problem to have, like we always say. But yeah, just look at obviously. I think Chera will be in. They always say a test, but I think he's ready to go. But he's got that soft tissue, so you just got to be careful with that. But yeah, Jack Martin's always an interesting conversation. You just really don't know where he's at ever, to be honest. 1 to 2 weeks. They said 1 to 2 weeks when he initially got injured after the Melbourne game. Who knows if he comes into the side? It's really up to him. Can he get his body right, and can he get a good block of footy together? And obviously, Cotter's 1 to 2. Jesus, there's going to be some pressure for spots, but like the players say, they're up for the challenge of those spots, and they want the challenge for the spots. So it's kind of a good culture and good mentality to have, especially hitting the end of the season where everyone wants to be playing in these big games like in September.
Would you think so? Obviously, with Adam Chera, he's pretty much expected to come back in. He's pretty much 100%. He's not a lock, but he should be featured this week against the Tigers. With Jack Martin and Matt Cottrell, obviously, they're a few weeks away. But when they eventually come back in, it's been a conversation the past few weeks. Which player do you think would come straight back in? And if you think they do, what role will they be playing? Will they be playing the role that they usually were playing? Like we were speaking about it before we pressed record on the episode, the Matt Cottrell role where Vintage is kind of playing that role. But I saw it as I think we've kind of gone past that. Not past it, but we've obviously had to deal with the injuries that we've had to deal with right now. And we haven't gone with the Matt Cottrell role with kind of more search through the Elijah Hollands, like the capability of his role.
Yep.
But also with Jack Martin, like him returning to the side will obviously change the forward line structure. What do you see happening there? Do you think Jack Martin and Matt Cottrell are locks to come back in the next few weeks when they do eventually come back in? Because we know that probably in a month's time they will be fit and raring to go. Do you think that they will come straight back in and it's 100% that they will come back in to the side?
It's a tough decision. I think obviously Chair is definitely in for me. Like we say, he's definitely in this week. But it's an interesting topic on him too. You know, he's been out for a while. Can he get the continuity enough to play finals footy this year? Who knows? Not sure. Still a question mark for me. But in terms of Jack Martin, I think Cotters comes in. I think he's that unrewarded running pressure, kicks a couple important goals. His running capacity. We've got a lot of runners in this team, which is fantastic to see. And, Elijah's one of them. Ollie, Akers, a few of those players off the top of my head. But yeah, I think Cotters comes in. Jack Martin, for me, I think the position for him I think it's between him and Zach Williams at the moment. I think it's one or the other up forward. I think, he can play both. I just don't see Martin coming in for anyone else at the moment. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he comes in for anyone else in that forward line. Oh, he's in great form at the moment, goal kicking form. There's other clubs looking at him. That's how good he's playing at the moment. So hopefully we re-sign him. But yeah, we don't know the way they look at the team. Does Jack Martin come straight in? I don't know. I actually wouldn't mind seeing him a couple of weeks in the twos, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just to not just, go, oh, you're just in. Make him work for it. Make him earn it and get a bit of continuity, like I said, with the other players. Because, Jack Martin in the twos, kick a couple bags. Kick a couple bags. And then you come into round 18, 19 against North, and then you continue getting that continuity to the game, and then you get to a qualifying final, and he's ready like last year.
So, heading into finals, do you not see a side where Zach Williams and Jack Martin, knowing that Zach Williams, you would expect him to play in the forward line for the rest of the year, do you not see Jack Martin and Zach Williams working together in that forward line?
They can, but I just feel like Jack Martin's injury opened up the door for Williams post Melbourne. I think did we have Sydney after Melbourne? We had Sydney after that Melbourne game. That was the first game Williams played forward.
Yeah. And
that was without Martin. So they obviously came to a conclusion that Zach can't get into this back line the way the way they're playing. And on the other hand, Jack Martin's not playing. So you fit him into the forward line. So maybe that's the way they look at it. And you go, gee, Jack Martin or Zach Williams. It's the toss and turn because they're both impact players for me, and they've got a bit of zip and a bit of zap. So it's hard to pick right now if they can both play together. But who comes out?
Exactly.
No one's really worthy of coming out other than maybe Zach Williams at the moment.
Yeah, because I think with Zach Williams, I think he got I think it was against Collingwood when he had a bit of scrutiny about their whole overall defensive mindset of him playing in the back line. It obviously was kind of foreshadowed through the media the week after. So, and then heading into Melbourne. Did he miss the Melbourne game? By memory, I think he did.
Yeah, he did. He did through some sort of injury or something.
Because I think he missed, and then he came back in for the Swans game, and then we were like, why would you bring in another half back?
Yeah.
But then that game, we were like, why is he playing forward? This is like the white flag moment of Liam Jones in 2019 or 2021, I think it was. We actually went to that game, did we?
Yeah, yes.
With the uni mates.
Yeah,
that's right. God, the memory, unbelievable. But yeah, I think like Zach Williams, when he I think it was against the Suns when he kicked those 4 goals, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 and then
3.
4 against Suns and then 3 against Port, and then who was the week after? Essendon, he kicked 2 or 3. So
yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah. So I think he's kind of found that role in that forward line, and I do agree. Like that's why I asked the question about Jack Martin and Zach Williams, because I completely agree. I don't think that will work heading into finals, and the only way that will work is if one of the forwards get injured. I don't think always is the player that would get dropped. I don't think Fogg is the player that will get dropped. Elijah Hollins won't get dropped either. I think it really is Zach Williams, and if Jack Martin is earning his stripes, I personally would say right now Jack Martin needs to go back into the VFL and earn his stripes back into the senior side until maybe one of these players drops some form, and then maybe is then omitted. But you can also play Jack Martin as a sub. He's a crucial sub.
And Williams.
Well,
Yeah,
you're right. And then there's another play. Like I'm heading into the ins and outs. There's another play that I've got as a sub, which is obviously a bit of a play that can play anywhere. But the question that I was about to ask also. So heading into the finals last year, a bit of a example of maybe an Adam Chera or a Jack Martin, guys that are kind of struggle to find themselves on the park and try and get into the senior side because of injury. Jack Silvani. So last year, heading into finals, he was actually available to play week 1 of finals. I don't know if we remember that, but week 1 of finals, he was available to play, but Vossi decided to go with the structure of the team, what's been working the past 11 weeks that we've won 11, like a 11 game win streak, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
That was working. And Silvani got injured in the Port Adelaide game, round 18, I think it was by memory. So, so then he was actually available to play, but Vossi didn't go with it. So is that something that you might see happening, like heading into the second half of the year? Chera obviously will come back this week, so I think he'll have enough games to get himself back to what we all know Adam Chera can deliver. But Jack Martin and Matt Cottrell, they're two players that are 2 to 3 weeks away where we're heading into that round 18, round 19 period of like, we need to get this forward structure right. What do you see happening there? Do you think maybe heading into finals this year, do you see the same thing happening there? I know it's a tough question, but what are your overall thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh, I think Jack didn't get it. Yeah, it was interesting though, wasn't it? The first week, but I don't think Jack's in the 22. If we're all
Silvani? Okay.
No. So that you know, you look at that, but I agree with the whole Cottrell and Jack Martin. Like they're got to be playing football before these big games come along. We can't be going into games dropping blokes. I feel like our biggest mistake was the prelim final selection and dropping. I think we dropped Matt Kennedy, we dropped Matt Owies, and we dropped Chincotta, and we dropped Kemp,
and we brought in Boyd,
and we brought in Marchbank off no games.
Yeah, and Marchbank, yeah.
The decisions you make, and we lose by 2 goals in the prelim final. So, selection's going to be tough, but they're going to make decisions that I think are based on block of work rather than perceived, reputation.
I completely agree. I think that was a question that, because that was something that even last year when I was saying, I'm like, God, I would love Jack Silvani to come back, but when he wasn't really getting those opportunities, like a lot of people were saying, oh, the club's fucking over Jack Silvani, but it's like, well, I don't think Sauce really. I mean, of course he would want to get out there, but Sauce overall knew that the game plan and the team structure was working, and it was matching up against one of the best teams in the competition and absolutely smashed Collingwood. That were then the premiers of that year. So. Yeah, it's a question where I just wanted to see your opinion on that, because I know that heading into finals in these next probably 4-week bracket is probably the most important of the season, because you need to find out what is suitable, and that's why I wouldn't mind seeing like a Motlop coming back in. I wouldn't mind seeing like a Cottrell come back in and a Martin. See these players and see what suits. Maybe Jack Carroll gets another opportunity at a full game. And just see how it all goes, because Marchbank's is another. I mean, I think he's probably one of the players on the lower end of those names, and all respect to him. Like I'm not trying to be shitting Marchbank, but it's more like it's unlucky because he hasn't had the opportunity to come back into the senior side, and the exact same thing as Silvani last year. It's a bit of the same story, isn't it? In terms of it's unlucky, but unfortunately, we just have to try and put the team over the individuals. But Dave Boy, let's now move on to the ins and outs this week. So finally, I think we haven't gone on unchanged, but there's been a few weeks where we've kind of there's been a few players that probably could have come back in, but we've decided to go unchanged or whatever. But this week should be a guaranteed in. What are your ins and outs, including your sub?
Yeah, so I'll start with my outs. Obviously, I've got the sub from when did we play? Friday night. Jeez, Friday night's game. Yeah, feels like ages ago since we played. I don't know why. I don't know. It was a really good win, obviously. But Corey Durden, the sub, he'll be making way. No issue with his when he came on. He actually impacted a few contests really well in that last term. So credit to him. But I want him playing a full couple games in twos because you want to get some form playing full games rather than just being the sub every week. I felt like with Carroll, we were he was in that plateau of where he's not going to get anywhere developing, just sitting on the fucking pine and then coming on in the last quarter. So Durden out for me. I didn't have an issue with his performance on the weekend, but I think he has to make way, and it's Orazio Fantasia. I wasn't going to have him out, but I was convinced by the Pattinson and his point of view before we recorded, and I saw his kind of perspective on things, and I agree. But in for me, Adam Chera comes in. Obviously, he's been the talk of this episode, I feel. We haven't spoken about Chicotta as much as we did on the preview last week. So maybe when we get to the matchups, we'll start talking about how you tag every single player on the ground for the Tigers. Also, Jesse Motlop coming into play his first game of the year.
Yep.
And I think it's, like you said, I think it's the right game to bring him in and test how he can go in this forward mix. I think he goes all right, to be honest. He's a forward. He's played the big games finals-wise, so I don't think he's going to have an issue with that if he comes in now and plays the rest of the year through the final series. So he's in for me. My sub. I look at it as how we did at the start of the year when we had Chera in the side and all the mids, and then we couldn't fit all the mids in. And you knew the two subs that played was Kennedy and Hewitt. But they switched every couple of weeks, I reckon. It was one of them going as the sub, and I think one of them has to be the sub this weekend. I know we talk about speed and pace and la da da. I think the game we've done in the last quarter, hopefully, and I don't think we need. Well, I just don't think we have. Do we need to? I think we've got enough pace, and I think we're fit enough to run over the top of them later in the game. So my substitution, I was weighing up between George Hewitt and Matt Kennedy. And I think, like I said to you pre-show, I think Matt Kennedy provides more in other facets of the game to George. Not having a go at George, but George will be my sub this weekend. I think you can't have all of them playing. You just can't, especially with Elijah. You can't take his minutes away. You cannot take his midfield minutes away. So, George Hewitt is my sub. And Kennedy was too good on the weekend to be, demoted, I guess, to the sub.
Yeah. Well, now that you said those words about it, I mean, my selection is very similar, but there's a vital difference.
Yep.
So, just before we get into my ins and outs, I just thought I would go through the next few weeks, and that's probably the reason why I wanted Jesse Motlop to play this week and experiment how he would go in that forward line alongside Matt Owies, because right now he's probably been the only small forward that really has played and who has kicked goals. Razo Fantasia as well, but as you mentioned as well, I think he's playing that cultural role, so he's that small forward,
unrewarded kind of. You're not getting a lot of touches. You're getting it's people have a go at those players, but it helps our team defense massively. But you continue.
Well, I mean, I completely agree, and that's why when he has a shot on goal, it's like the spotlight's on him in a way.
I know.
So I do feel a little bit sorry for Arazo because I'll give a bit of a spoiler now, but I think Arazo Fantasia will make way in my ins and outs as well. But just before I do touch in on the rest of the ins and outs, so obviously we're playing Tigers this week, Giants the week after, Dogs the week after the Giants, and then round 19 is the Kangaroos. So we've got, this is what I'm speaking about the 4-week bracket. I think this is the opportunity this week to see how it goes. Maybe you've got another opportunity against North Melbourne, but Giants and Dogs, I don't want to risk anyone because I think they're vital points that you don't want to give up to try and experiment. And the opposition is obviously better than Richmond and North Melbourne, all due respect to
but you're right.
It's just realistic. So and then obviously we're playing Giants away and we're also playing the Dogs at Marvel. So they're two pretty tough games. It's games that we realistically should be winning, no doubt. But they're games where I would rather not risk players. And if Jesse Motlop does play well against the Tigers this week, you then play him and then say a Razio or Durden who is a bit stiff to get dropped. Sorry, Motlop's playing too well. So then
Yeah.
they have to make their way, and it's healthy competition in the VFL. And that's why I completely agree about what you said about Durden, where I
Yeah.
would much rather him play some VFL footy. Because as you said a few episodes ago, with Jack Carroll,
Yeah.
he's not improving. He's not progressing as a footballer if he's just playing sub every week. I know that he's a full-time footballer and he trains through the week, but
Yeah.
it's match day where you have
Yeah.
to improve. And who knows, we might get an injury halfway through the first quarter, but you don't want that to kind of rely on Jack Carroll's progress. So
Yeah.
that's like every single week, yeah. I don't mind Jack Carroll playing a few subs. Like heading into finals, maybe Jack Carroll is that sub.
Yeah.
But through the season, you can't have him playing as a sub every week. And I don't think any club's really done that.
No.
But yeah, it's just unbelievable. So yeah, so then what's your thoughts on that? Like heading into the next few weeks with Giants and the Dogs, then obviously the week after North. Is that a fair assumption of what you of where your mind is at, where bringing in Motlop this week might be the right way to go, especially since we have a few tough weeks and then we have North Melbourne the week after?
Yeah, it's funny when you talk, like when we speak about this, like it's managing players,
Yeah,
or
managing. Yeah.
it's just like for me, I think Motlop's better than both of them. So I think clearly he is. So it's exciting for me. I just think you look at the next block again. I know you talk about the Giants and the Dogs, but we like really we should be winning these games.
100%.
Like, I'm not trying to be cocky, and we as Carl's boys, you got to take the bias lens off and think you'll drop one. But will we? Like, do you have to? Would you have to drop one?
No.
Geelong won from round. I think they won 16 in a row to win the premiership a couple of years ago.
Mm.
Good form is good momentum. So I completely get what you're saying in terms of the Richmond and North. You're not going to shape the whole lineup differently, but you might bring in guys like Pitto, or like guys who can give Tom a chop out or whatever. But yeah, it's just going to be intriguing, because we haven't been in this position at the back end of a season before, like where we're playing in red hot form and we're coming into these games as clear favourites. So it's going to be interesting to see how the coaches and the selection committee kind of go about it.
Yeah. It's really well said. And then that's a good overall thought into your one, because like that's something that I wanted to hear from you, is like maybe we go in this week unchanged.
Yeah, fuck.
Because like realistically, as you said, a premiership side from a couple of years ago did that. They made one change, and past few weeks we've been probably playing the best football in the competition right now, and that's with Chera. So I think right now we would expect Chera to come back in to have that experiment this week, but it would be an interesting conversation if he wasn't available till round 20 against Port Adelaide. That would be interesting, because heading into Port, then the Pies, and then the week after the Pies, I think it's the Hawks, Eagles, then Saints, round 24. That's big. So it really is, isn't it? Like Port and Pies, like they're two games that's like top 8 footy, but God, we should be winning. Like,
I know.
We kind of look back to the mid-season review about the predictions for the rest of the year, and then I think we both put us as one loss for the rest of the season. That was against the Giants. We should be beating the Giants.
Yes, I know. Why did we put that as the loss?
Yeah, I don't know why we did either.
Then what else? Where else are we losing?
Maybe the Pies, but I don't reckon we lose.
I don't think we lose them twice.
Yeah, completely agree.
It never often happens when we play them twice. We don't lose them unless we're dog shit. But like even last year, we halved the season kind of series.
Yeah. We will lose to the Saints at Marvel round 24.
But we'll rest everyone. We'll do what we did against the Giants last year. That's another conversation. Everyone was like, "Oh, what are we doing?" And then you go into the elimination final, kick the first 7 goals, or whatever. It's you don't want to flirt with form, but you don't want to just overdo it before you go to finals. So it's a brain fuck, to be honest, thinking about it. But yeah.
Yeah. And then also heading into round 24 against the Saints, you might see Sam Durden line up against Max King at Marvel Stadium, Daffy boy. So what a match. And then who knows, you might see Tommy Kiwi line up on Tim Membry. So I'm going to very quickly touch on my ins and outs. But yeah, so ins, Adam Chera, Jesse Motlop, completely agree. Out, Corey Durden, Arazo Fantasia, completely agree. Now, my sub is different. And there's a vital reason for this.
Okay.
And it's Matt Kennedy.
Okay. Yep.
So the prime reason why I said why I put him as a sub, and probably one of the main reasons why you have him on the field, and that's why I think it's good to hear different opinions, because Matt Kennedy, I think, needs to play as a sub because he has other avenues to his game. We need to remember back to, I think it was this year, when he was playing half back.
Yes.
And obviously I don't want that to happen whatsoever, but
no, yeah.
You've still got that. But also you can play as a forward, but George Hewitt really has one dimension into his game.
Okay.
So I think George Hewitt could play as a sub. I would love him as a sub. I would love anyone as a sub, and that's why.
It's one of them, I reckon.
Yeah. So you reckon it's only Matt Kennedy or George Hewitt as sub this week?
If the guys who are dropped are dropped. So if Orazio or Durden are playing, I think it'll be one of them as the sub. But I think if they are both dropped from this game, I think it has to be George or Matt Kennedy. Because I just think there's so many mids.
Yeah.
And Chera's it's a big test for Chera. Can he perform well enough to push Hewitt and Kennedy out of this side?
Yeah, no, it's a really good talking point. But yeah, I just think that the sub, it's something that I don't know why. I'm sure you would be the exact same, but I just view it very highly. But that's what I was about to ask earlier. Next year, heading into 2025, it's the sub going ahead.
5 on the bench. Get rid of it. 5 on the bench. Get rid of it. You can use your 5th player on the bench however you like.
And any time as well. You don't have to bring him
on. No. Why are we doing that? And you know what I hate as well? It was on the weekend of the Saturday night's game, the Melbourne debutant kind of Brown.
Oh my God, like 5 minutes on the ground.
He saved them the game.
Hey?
He saved them the game with a tackle, and he's on for 5 minutes in his debut.
Yep.
He's a father-son, Patto.
Yeah.
That's why you got to get rid of it. And also, coaches, if you're listening to this, do not debut someone as a sub.
Oh, it's terrible.
Do not do it. I know Bin's debuted as a sub, but that was a late
option. Yeah,
it was a late. Like he was not playing 2 hours before the game, then all of a sudden he's in. But when you know and you've announced it to the world that they're debuting, and then you go, nah, he's a sub, and then you play, especially the way Melbourne have been playing. Fuck me, I don't think you're gonna hurt them. So I know that's a different topic, but sub, get rid of it. 4 or 5 on the bench, sort it out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it needs to be 5. I think the 4 is there's 2, there's not enough players, but 5 is the perfect amount because, as we said, you don't have to play them.
No,
but at least they're there as the option because most clubs will be using the 5.
Yes,
I think it's 75 rotations a game. That will then go up to probably 85. 80 to 85. So that's fine. That's great. Just leave it. Just leave it as no sub. For that reason of the debutants coming on and they're not doing anything. I mean, I think he came on probably the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like, I was speaking to the old man. I'm like, get him on, like 3/4 time, get him on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came on 10 minutes ago, I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon it might have been 7 or 8. Like that's just not good enough. No. Good for him. And just the rule is just, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's just the rule doesn't make any sense. I know everyone goes, we talk about the sub, but in the end, they're not. Like, are they doing much if they're in the last 10 minutes? No. Unless there's some Superman, you know what I mean? Like Jack Martin or someone comes on and kicks 2 in the last quarter of a grand final. But like it's just a waste of time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think you hit the nail there. So therefore, let's now move on to the opposition watch. Now, for the people who don't know what this is, we go through the back line, midfield, and forward line, and we touch on one player for the Richmond Tigers this week, obviously as that opposition watch, and we kind of explain why they are a threat this week. And we also, so I don't know what Daffy's ones are, and he doesn't know what mine are. So we both are going completely random this week. So Daffy boy, your backline opposition watch, who have you got for this week against the Tigers?
To be honest, I don't even know. But you were saying you don't even know mine. I don't know yours. I don't even know mine. Yeah. I don't even know what you own at the moment. But no, realistically, I think Nick Floston's been their best defender this year. A slight mention to Tom Brown, who's playing some really good footy, the young fella. So Floston for me, he's just an interceptor. He's played a lot of footy now. He's not that old, but he's played in big games, and he's just an experienced head down there. Him and Broad, I reckon, them two are still playing decent footy. So, yeah, Vlossen for me. Who does he take? Not too sure. Don't really care. There'll be balls kicked over his head, so into the goals. So, no, but in all due respect, he's a solid player. So you don't want to really get those guys into the game. So you got to change the angles going forward, eliminate those interceptors because they got a few of them. I think Vlossen, Broad, and Bolter are probably their key intercept players, and Brown's playing some good footy as well.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Nick Blossom was probably the player that I was going to go with, but I've gone with someone different. And even like a Jaden Short is another player.
Yeah,
Even, but I don't think he's been that good this year either.
no,
And he's kind of transitioned to that halfback flank again, where I think he made the All Australian team a couple of years ago, but
yeah,
or maybe he just won the Richmond Best and Fairest. I'm not too sure, but he obviously was a very solid player, but he just hasn't found that form again. But the other player on the halfback flank, and I want your opinion on this, is Daniel Rioli. That's
yeah.
my opposition watch, and I think a bit like Lockie Whitfield. I think it's like he's a fair way off Lockie Whitfield. I think he's a player that kind of drives the ball forward.
Yeah.
And he kind of a lot of their forward patterns are through Daniel Rioli from the back half. What's your thoughts on that? Like Daniel Rioli, as a backline opposition watch, do you think we might need to put some work into him?
Obviously there's a lot of talk around him in the Gold Coast. They're willing to give up 2 first rounders, which is unbelievable. But he'd be handy for them. But I've never I know he's a 3-time premiership player, like all the Richmond people remind me of whenever I speak about him. Like good on him. Played a role, couldn't play forward, went down back, plays decent foot. I'm never really sold on him, to be honest. Does he defend well enough? Not sure.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Attacking wise, he's great, like you said, and that's his strengths. And we've got players like, well, do we? I think all our defenders play defensive footy as well. So, his motivation this year looks like he's just focusing on the postseason trip to Miami because the way he's got, like, I don't know, all their players, these premiership players, they shouldn't be this bad. They shouldn't be this bad, and they're accepting it. Like their supporters going, "Oh, we're just shit," and the injuries. But you look at the names on this list. There's enough good players to at least field a like semi-competitive team. And it stems from the top with him, and guys like I don't know who else. Like you obviously got Dustin Martin, who I think's maybe close to the way out, but got good players in there, and they look like they just don't give a shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't think we're going to put work into him. But who knows? Chicotta, we haven't really talked about him this episode much. Maybe we do need to bring him into the equation. But I don't know. Does he take one of the defenders? I don't know. Maybe he takes one of the mids. I don't know.
Yeah. Like another player that I even thought about when you were mentioning the premiership player, like say like I think it's Camden McIntosh. I don't know.
Camden McIntosh. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think he's a 3-time premiership player.
Yeah.
I think he was there for all 3. Like I know that he
Yep.
was there for 2019 and 2020, but he's a player that this year has just not. He's looked at he just hasn't been the same McIntosh we've seen the past few years. And I know that he's more of a winger, and I know that he's probably heading into that twilight, if not the end of his career. But I completely agree about you can't be this bad if you've tasted the success and you're accepting these losses like this. Like, I mean, I've put my winner plus margin later on, like it's a bit of a spoiler as well, as a big margin. But they shouldn't be accepting that.
No.
They shouldn't be accepting us coming out being like, oh, they're shit. We're going to win by 100 points. Like, which I don't think they should be accepting that because Richmond is such a proud club.
Yeah.
How are they accepting that after literally winning the premiership 4 years ago?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Drop-off is... Well, people were talking about them sliding the 8 this year. I didn't think they were anywhere near it, but like one player in particular, and I'm not here to bully players. So if you're a Richmond supporter, I respect your dynasty. My best mate I've known since I was like 4 or 5 years old is a massive Tiger.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine he might even watch this maybe, if he can be buggered. But Jack Graham.
Yeah, Jack
He's
Graham.
been horrible.
Yeah,
He wouldn't be in the side if there was injuries.
no.
If there wasn't injuries, sorry. Like just experienced players letting them down for me. That's just my thinking, but we'll avoid the Tigers chat.
Yeah, well, I mean, one more thing about Jack Graham, like by memory, he was one of the players that was being talked about captain, like being the captain
Yeah,
of the club. Well, I know that he was very, but to have even the conversation around you
yeah,
being the potential captain of the club after Trent Cotchin, one of the great premiership captains of the modern era,
yeah.
it's unbelievable that Jack Graham, he's not
No,
even in a shit side, he's
yeah.
not a shining light.
That shows to me all I need to know about him.
100% agree.
I don't think he's the player they make him out to be. When
Yeah.
you're in a good team, same for us, mate. We've got players like that. Like sometimes you overrate your own.
Mm.
Sorry to say, but he's probably one of those guys.
Yep.
And you're talking about captaincy, and their captain's Nake for crying out loud. So
Yeah. God. And Grimes, who hasn't even played. Like, it's actually unbelievable. And I mean, obviously, the
yeah,
Tigers' injury list is quite
yeah, of
insane this
course,
year,
of
but
course.
it's not acceptable because you've still got players out there who would not
Yeah,
accept 100-point losses.
yeah.
Like, even Dustin Martin to a stretch as well. Like, I know that
Oh,
he probably would be heading
superstar.
into the latter part of his career, and maybe he might transition to the Suns next year. But even if he's at the Tigers next year, how is he accepting this?
Yeah,
But I know that it's just not one players, but it's like, oh, I mean, I just think we have such a strong opinion on it because this is what we felt like in bloody 2018, mate, where we were just like, how are these players not accepting it? But
yeah.
sorry, how are these players accepting these absolutely terrible losses? But Dave Boy, let's now move on to the midfield opposition watch. There is an inclusion that I'm sure you'll touch
Yeah.
on that might come back in this week. But your midfield opposition watch for the Tigers, who have you got?
Yeah, they've got a lot of guys kind of running through there this year. You got your Boltons, you got your guys who play predominantly forward. Obviously, Dusty's still going in there; he's still playing a role, I guess. But for me, Liam Baker, I think he's my. I guess I don't like Richmond at all with a percentage of my being, but I do like Liam Baker. I like the way he goes about it. He's obviously looking like he's on his way out,
Yep.
unfortunately for them, but I think they'll get some good return in terms of draft capital. So, yeah, he's just a good player. We said it before we recorded. He plays forward, he plays back, he plays mid, but he plays it all. He's not like a master of all he's a master of all positions, but he's not like okay at each position. He's really, really good when he plays each position. See, I feel like a lot of those guys in the AFL that can play all those positions it's like he's okay at playing forward, back, and mid, but he's not the top of the top. But I feel like he's top of the top wherever he's playing, and I feel like he's one of their kind of shining lights this year. I think he continues to play good footy, considering the talk around him in terms of trade.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's my midfield opposition watch. As soon as we were doing this, I think straight away, I thought straight away to Liam Baker. You can even put a Tim Taranto in there, but as we said before, we press record on the episode. Like, I don't think Tim Taranto is damaging by foot. He's not like I don't think he's a threat or an opposition watch to put him down as a real threat.
Yeah,
But to touch on Liam Baker, because I don't think I'll touch on much more just because you hit the nail on the head, but in terms of Alex Chincotta, so
yeah.
this week heading into the game, once again, it's another chat about Chincotta. But do you think Chincotta would go straight to Liam Baker, or do you think there is another player, I mean, one of the halfbackers like Riol? I don't think he would tag Rioli, but maybe of Loston or maybe even a Jaden
Yeah.
to a stretch as well. What do you think right now in this point in time? Who do you think Chincotta would go to this week?
I don't think he's going to go to any of their forwards. I think our defense
Yeah.
is well suited to, pick up their forwards and defend them. Like you said, I think it might be a Vlosten. Could be following a Baker. Could be following him around wherever he goes. I know for a fact he won't be tagging Tyler Sonsi. But no, it'd be Vlosten or Short, I think. But do you tag him? I don't know. I think you tag Loston if you're going to do it.
Mm.
Loston or Baker?
Yeah. No, I like it. One name,
Baker.
Babe. Love it. I think he'll go to Baker as well. But another player that we haven't mentioned yet is Jacob Hopper. So that's a
Yeah.
player that
Yeah.
obviously is an inclusion this week. So with Hopper playing, do you think that might help Tim Taranto a little bit more in that midfield?
Yeah, he's a smooth mover, Hopper. He's a better by foot. You could tag Toronto when you think about it.
Mm,
You
yeah.
cut his 30 to 23, 22. You know what I mean? Like he's a clearance beast. Like that's probably the
Yeah.
only way that's probably the way they can impact his game through his clearance work. So maybe you go Chincotta on him, or do you like whether George or Kennedy play? Do you keep tabs on him? Do you play defensively on him? I don't know. But to be honest with you, the way our mids are playing, we've got 4 midfielders in there all the time with TDK. The way he's playing,
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see his matchup on Nankervis. So it's a whole. Even when you're playing these bottom sides, there's a lot to think about because you can't just go into these games just going through the motions. Because the way the AFL is, if you're a little bit off, they beat the bloody Swans, mate. I'm not sure. I didn't watch that game 1 minute of it. I'm not sure if the game was real or rigged, but they beat Sydney. So I don't know. They got something in them. They got something in them where if they can get on a run through the grunt work of Taranto and Hopper and Baker and guys like that, we've got to watch out for it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like they beat the team that has been unbeatable this season, and their only loss was to like Sydney's only loss was to the Tigers.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable how tight this whole competition is, but also when one of the worst teams in the competition against one of the best teams we have seen probably the past 5-10 years in terms of the season, Sydney. That's just unbelievable. And they lost a game where you have to win the flag. They lost it at the G, so that probably wouldn't help their confidence as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, because that's what I was about to say about a Taranto. So I don't think I think his 30 touches to 20 touches, and I don't know if I'm being a little bit harsh here, but I don't think there's a big impact between the two. I don't think his 30 touches, I would almost rather him go 30 touches. I mean, not rather him get 30 touches, but I would rather put our focus into a Liam Baker or a Jaden Short or a Daniel Rioli or a Nick Lawson who sets up their forward line. But yeah, I just think, I mean, maybe to a stretch, Tim Taranto could be a target, which I completely agree. Realistically, he obviously is a good footballer and he's obviously a clearance beast. So then maybe that's a player that Chincotta might have to go to. But did you want to say something else, Ed?
No, I agree. Taranto's probably their best mid, but like you said, with his touches, I just don't. People talk about opposition supporters talk about Walsh's disposal efficiency. Taranto struggles to kick. That's his negative for me. If he could kick, he would be a top 5 mid in the league. I'm not having a go at him. He'll kick a couple goals on the weekend after I say that. But I just think he's one of those guys where he could take his game to the next level if he just had that kicking ability. Whether it's doesn't have to be super, but look at Cripps' improvement as a kicker. That's how he's got his game to the next level over the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Once again, you hit the nail on the head. But before we move on to the forward line, I've just got a question about the rucks. So you mentioned there about TDK, and last episode you were mentioning maybe Tom DeConning does have I mean, I don't know if you wanted him to rest or not, but you wanted Pitto to come in to match up against Nankervis. Obviously, that may have changed a little bit now with obviously your ins and outs. You haven't brought in Mark Pittonet.
Yeah.
Are you a little bit worried heading into this week with Tom DeConning up against Nankervis, or are you more excited to see, because Nankervis is that old-fashioned ruckman, and him coming up against a guy like Tom DeConning, from a Richmond supporter's point of view, that might be a big worry for them?
Yeah, Nankervis is an interesting one. If it was 2 years ago, you go, ooh, with him and TDK, and you would have to bring Pitto in. But yeah, I did talk about it, but I just don't think he can cut. He's got to be the number one. And Pitto into the side is the first ruck in the middle. So I think TDK Pitto's not going to start at half forward. He's not going to start at half forward. If he's in, he's going to be in the middle of the ground. So I don't think you can take Tom out of there. He's another midfielder, like I said. We've got 4 mids in there. His will to get the ball is unbelievable. And can Nankervis stay with him? I'm not sure. I'm not. I think in the ruck contest he might. Will he though? I don't know. Because his will to get the ball, Tom, is second to none. It's the best in our team by a country mile. I watched some footage. Last 2 minutes of the game on the other night, he had the highest rated game, right? And he's diving for smothers.
Mm.
And he looks like he went down, right? He's like tired. And then you can see him in the back corner. He's chasing. And then they had the ball in our forward 50 on the boundary. Who really cares? You're up by 10 goals. He's diving for a smother. Another example of that, Blake Acres on the line in the last 30 seconds or so.
Yep.
That just tells me how much we've improved mentally as a side. We don't accept 2 minutes off. It's 4 quarters on, whether you like it or not. And the team we play have to be on to beat us. We're making it hard for teams to beat us. That's what I'm liking at the moment. We're not easy to beat. I think we were easy to beat start of the year after the first 4 games, that little patch, because we were leaking goals, Patto. We are scoring to the same level, and we're defending at a better level.
Mm.
That to me is just a very, very good sign of where we're at.
Yeah, no, extremely well said. But yeah, just another conversation also. Their second ruck. So Noah Bolter last week played round 14 because they had their bye last week. Round 14 was their last game, and that's another conversation. They're coming off a week. Is that going to help them in terms of their injuries? There's not a lot of players coming back in anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be a bloodbath, David Boy. But also like Samson Ryan is expected to come back in as Tom Lynch is going to miss this week. So maybe that is that second ruck. Like if Samson Ryan comes in, he will definitely play as that second ruck. But it's just a conversation where Noah Boltard, if he's transitioning as that second ruck, who goes on Charlie and Harry?
You'd probably go
Ben Miller down there.
Maybe,
Broad.
Yeah, be Miller and Broad, I think. And then when Bolter's in the ruck. But Bolter, who knows where he's going to play? Yeah, and with Samson, right, he's not coming in because he's out for 2 weeks. So,
yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he can't come in. So what are they going to do? I know that's when you almost go. That's when you almost go. Do you bring Pitto in?
Yeah.
Do you bring him in
and dominate? Yeah.
And you really, you know what I mean? Like that's a conversation in itself. Like, do you get Pitto in, and Tom goes, okay, I'll just play that, forward role and really stretch him out, or I don't know, but it's so many things you can talk about in a game of footy. I don't think people realise that there's so many different alternations, and especially with Bolter, who knows where he's going to play? Like who knows?
Yeah. God, like you think about that because I just thought about that in my mind. Like Tom Nicconi up against Nan Curvis as that sole ruckman, but then they don't really have a genuine second ruck. And we've got Harry Mackay, who is another endurance beast who can run out the game for the whole game.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just you watch worse and worse things are getting bad. Getting worse for the Tigers this week, and you watch they'll beat us by a point. But let's now move on to the forward line opposition watch for the Richmond Tigers. There are a few names down there, but obviously, as we mentioned, there's a key name who won't be there this week. But who have you got as your forward line opposition watch?
Yeah, it's he came in, I think he finished the game against Hawthorn a couple of weeks ago with a hip niggle, or there was a talk about him, but it's Shai Bolton. Yeah. I think he's one of those guys. I don't know. He's just worries me sometimes. He worried me a bit this year in that game, round 1, especially late in that game where he almost took the ball and almost kicked a goal with about 30 seconds to go. Luckily, we learned how to win close games at the start of the year because that's definitely held us in good stead. But yeah, Shai Bolton's the one for me, and obviously Tom Lynch out. So not sure how their dynamic's going to work. Maybe they have to put Bolter there. I don't know. Because they're talking about their mid-season draftee going down back.
Yeah.
They've got a 193 centimetre Jacob Bauer who can play back or forward. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what team comes out for them.
Because even like a Jacob Kaczynski who hasn't found his way this year at the Tigers.
Oh yeah, he'll be yeah.
Yeah, so he played last week. So he played in the game, but it's more like to fill that Lynch role because that is massive for the Tigers, I think. And like Kaczynski is probably a player that they wanted to bring in alongside Lynch.
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
he just hasn't found the form. And it's funny, isn't it? Because you think back to Hawthorn when it was Lewis and Kaczynski, like they were playing pretty much every week, and they actually worked quite well together.
yeah.
And yeah, like I'm just thinking about that now, and I'm like, wow, like that might be another talking point where Kaczynski might actually need to pull his finger out this week and really play a good game. Because if not, who knows? Maybe Seth Campbell might be kicking their 10 goals, mate.
No, he's good. He's good, by the way. Seth Campbell. No. He's a player. Watch him for the next couple of years. He's actually one that's caught my eye.
Yeah, he's good, but he won't be. I mean, maybe you watch, he'll be kicking 10 goals this week against the Bulls. But yeah, no, I mean, my forward line opposition was Shai Bolton, but I was gonna maybe say another player there, which is obviously Dustin Martin. I think that's another player that you kind of had to put some sort of attention to, because if you let him get going, I think he's definitely one of the best players in the competition, but maybe the best player to ever play the game. But that's boy. Let's now move on to our highly anticipated match predictions. So for the people who don't know what this is, we go through bagger of the game, which is obviously a player that we think will be the best player on the ground this week, or maybe the most impactful player, whoever we think will be the bagger of the game this week. Point of difference, obviously, is quite self-explanatory. Point of difference player this week, and then winner plus margin. So this is probably the first game this season where we've kind of looked and been like, this can be a big margin. And right now we are sitting on 114% on the ladder. We can blow that to, I mean, we won't get to Sydney, but we can blow it. I mean, we might get to Sydney if we win by 400 points, but it could be a big percentage boost, that boy. So your match predictions, what have you got?
Yeah, it's a. In the back of my head as a Carlton supporter, I just don't want this shit to backfire on me. Just the percent. But we really should be winning this game. We said it last week for the Cats. We knew we were going to win last week. That was our thinking. We've got to be confident heading into this game. Obviously, they're whatever they are at the moment, and we're just in great form. So MCG Sunday Arvo is nice as well. But bagger of the game, Patrick Cripps. Bagger of the game, and always probably locks up his bagger of the year votes, which is getting interesting. I calculated after the last round with TDK's best on performance, and he's starting to fly up the top 5 ladder. I'm not sure he's going to catch Cripper, but he will be in that top 3, I reckon, very, very soon. But yeah, Cripper for me, with 41 touches last week and no marks. That shows that he was just getting the hard ball. Point of difference. I feel like Zach Williams is going to kick a bag of goals. I feel like this is the type of game he will. I don't know. I just feel like they just won't get near him. I just feel like it's just one of those games where I reckon he could kick like a 4 or 5. I don't know why. Even Owies could be up there, but I think Williams is going to kick his 4 or 5 after we've spoken about him, obviously, in the selection conversation. Winner plus margin. Oh God. I despise this football club, right? Yeah. I do not like Richmond. I respect the way they've gone about it the last few years, but I think it's our time to put the foot on the throat. It's going to be, well, how much did we buy on the weekend? 63. We had a 1-goal quarter against a better team.
Yeah.
71 points, the MCG, I think. I think it's going to be a big one. Not saying they can't get close. They got close to us earlier in the year, but we weren't what we were now. No. We were not near it, I don't think. We were kind of just, we were playing okay, but we weren't converting. We weren't defending well enough. So yeah, I've got 71 points. I know someone's going to clip this and hope to God that Richmond pull up upset of the year, but I think we win quite comfortably.
Yeah, no, well, like you mentioned there about their really silly, we should be beating this side. Like we now have the trust of, if we aren't blowing this team away after what we saw last week against the Cats, that will then lose the trust a little bit. And like it doesn't have to be, it doesn't need to be 100 points, but
no, 50 plus.
Yeah, but not have them.
Even if it's 40, I don't care.
Yeah,
just an easy day at the footy where there's no little run they go on or whatever.
Yeah.
The game's over at halftime, but that's what I want. That's all I want. It might not happen. Who knows?
Yeah. And no stress, no nothing at the footy. You just want to get there, Sunday Arvo, enjoy yourself and just watch the Baggers smack some goals onto the scoreboard. I'm going to start off with my point of difference because I've got the exact same point of difference, and it's Zach Williams.
Yep.
I think he's the player that he's had a few, I mean, not off weeks, but last week he was a bit quiet in that forward line. I think if he really wants to prove himself with Jack Martin potentially knocking down the door, I would like to see Zach Williams come out and kick some sausage rolls, Daft Boy. So, bag of the game. As soon as I did this, I just knew straight away who it was, and it's Tom DeCotti. And the reason for this, he's going to make Nankervis tied halfway through that second quarter. And then he'll head into halftime wanting a 20-minute break, and he'll want a 40-minute break. So Tom DeCotti he'll be fresh as a daisy halfway through that fourth quarter when Nankervis will be on the bench and Noah Bolton will be up against Tom DeCotti. It's going to be an absolute ruck masterclass, and it's going to show that this evolution of the ruckman over the next few years, this is what you need to go with. You need an agile, athletic ruckman. Like, Fremantle might look at this game and be like, oh, maybe we do go with Luke Jackson and take Sean Darcy out of the ruck. Like, small things like that. Like, other clubs might actually see this masterclass of MCG. It's a bigger ground. You need to have ruckman kind of like endurance piece and trying to really get the other ruckman in terms, like, as you said, the fourth midfielder, you need to have that. And I think Tom DeCotti is due for a big game. I mean, like he's obviously had a few massive games, but I think this week he's going to prove himself once again against one of the premier ruckman of the competition a few years ago.
Yeah.
I think he's going to definitely show him up. But winner plus margin. So you said they're about 60. You said they're about 63 points against the Cats, and we had a 1-goal quarter.
Yep.
And that's against the Cats, who realistically should be around that top 8 spot. Blue Baggers by 89 points. Blue Baggers by 89 points. That is what I'm going with. And that is the margin that as soon as we did it, I said to you before before we got on the episode, this is what I'm going with. I mean, I didn't tell you the figure, but I told you that it was going to be quite large. And I kind of looked at 71 and be like, 71 points. God, that's a little bit of a...
I'll tell you what, though. Gee, it'd be nice to put the foot down on them.
Especially
after
against
all those years.
Yeah.
After all those years of those round 1 clashes, rocking up, them walking around, strutting around, doing their flag unfurlings, rubbing it in. Come on, it's time. It's time.
Yeah. And I think it also gives us like another opportunity from last week with what we saw against Geelong. Like, hey, we haven't been great against them for the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's another test this week against the Tigers where, I mean, we've probably had a bit more success against them over the past 2 decades, but they've still been solid. And when they've been good, we've been ordinary. So it's just, I think now that we're kind of on that better side and they're on the worser side of the competition, just put the, I'm sorry, I hate Richmond.
Yeah, so
it goes Collingwood, Richmond. It really does. It goes Collingwood, Richmond, Essendon. I despise them. Like round 1, there's always just that.
Yeah.
Just the way. I mean,
underrated. It's an underrated rivalry.
100% agree.
They're different to Collingwood. Obviously, they're not as bad. There's just something about Richmond. There's just something about beating them is just an extra boost. Like even this year, when we won by under a goal, everyone's going, "Oh, no, I'm just happy we fucking knocked them off."
Yeah,
I'm just happy they went all that way and still lost by under a goal. Like, you know what I mean? So, I wouldn't mind putting the foot down, but we've still got to respect them. But come on now.
Yeah, we respect them until we play against them on Sunday, and it's going to be. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a 150-point win to the Blue Bags Dapper Boy. But I mean, realistically, we are winning this game this week if we want to be the real deal. If we lose this game with that we are potentially bringing in this week with Chera and potentially Motlop. Like you bring in Durden and Fantasia, who could be out, and then you bring in they are.
It's pretty good ins.
Massive ins. So, I'm just now I'm a little bit nervous now that that's out in the world. I'm quite a little bit nervous about that, but hoping and I'm praying that the trust that I have with Carlton, hopefully we can really put the foot down, as we said. But Dave Boy, that is the last segment that we'll touch on of the preview episode for the Richmond Tigers. Is there anything else you would like to touch on before we wrap up the episode?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm happy it's on a night game. I can wind down after the game. You know, when after a night game, you can't wind down.
Yeah,
I got to be so late after a night game. I know we do the episode, but even after that, I just can't sleep. I've got all the adrenaline. I imagine the players. They always talk about how they just stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning after a night game. But 3:20. Hopefully the sun's out, and hopefully we can see another Blues win on our march to September football.
Yeah, no, love it. I love how you kind of slowed down there because I still had a big mouth. I was like, hopefully you can slow down a little bit so there isn't a bit of a pause. But yeah, no, but I completely agree. Pardon me. Just had a bit of water. I probably needed a few more seconds to kind of get the water down. Sorry, Dave Boy, but yeah, no, I think it's. Are you going?
Yes.
Yeah. So I can't go to the game this weekend, unfortunately. I'm working on the game, so I'll still be able to watch the game a little bit. But
relax and watch the Blue Baggers get it done.
Or else or else the work that I do, it might be out a little bit later than expected because who knows? It might be a 3-point win and I'll be a little bit nervous heading into the end of the game. But Duff Boy, well said. Very good episode once again. But to every single Blue Bagger out there, make sure to tune in and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and hopefully we can try and get it by the end of the year before we head into finals. But yeah, I think it's obviously a privilege to come on 2 times a week to do a preview and a review of the episodes with one of my good mates. It's one of the great pleasures of doing the episodes because you can come on with a Carlton supporter who's obviously just as passionate as I am. It's great. So, but to every single Blue Bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, but also make sure to get around our podcast platforms. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts. There's a few others there, definitely. And make sure to look in our link. So there's a list of other podcasts there, but also get around our socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Make sure to get around those. But to you, Daffy boy, and to every single Blue Bagger out there, the Baggers!